My name is Ron Haviv, and I'm one of the co-founders of the 7 Photo Agency. I think that it's becoming harder and harder to be a photographer working today because people are really conscious of how important the work that we're doing, what it can mean, how it can influence opinion, how it could give information. So I think that those of us that are out there doing this type of work, it is certainly becoming challenging, but it of course is very invigorating, is very worthwhile, and when we're able to tell these stories and do it properly, you really feel like you've done something good. The word never to me is it's a challenge. It's always to not let that happen, to overcome that, and it's something that you hear many times as a photographer. You're not allowed to shoot here. You can't do that. This is impossible. You'll never be allowed to take that picture. And so it's a constant sort of challenge, and our ability to overcome it as photographers. It's like part of my everyday life of trying to get over that. Never was a difficult idea, and I took a while to kind of come up with it, and then it wound up actually being extremely simple as I was standing in Midtown Manhattan trying to catch a cab, watching numerous other people around rush hour, which is pretty much the worst time you could try to catch a cab in New York because all the cab drivers actually go off when people need them the most. So never seemed to be a very obvious idea as a New Yorker. It's almost impossible, and sometimes it's completely impossible to catch a cab. There are a number of photographs that I like from this set. I think they work better together as a group of photographs than any individual image standing out to kind of create that feeling of the inability to catch a cab, the moodiness of the being at dusk. There's a lot of blacks and oranges in the picture to kind of create that, using the color to create a feeling of kind of being surrounded and not really having a way out, using New York as a background, using kind of a construction gate as a barrier to add to kind of that idea, kind of like little subtle things, people waiting online for the taxi, kind of like just very typical scenes, but hopefully shot in a way that most people maybe wouldn't look at a line, for example. I mean, most of the work that I'm known for is quite serious, and rightly so, but I think that there's other stories that I've done that are a little bit more fun, a little bit less serious, not as life and death. And I think that's the beauty about photography, is that we can touch on all aspects of life. I mean, it doesn't have to just be death or something life-threatening or something like that. And I think that it would be very difficult as a photographer to spend all your time just photographing one aspect of the world. So having that ability through these words, through this campaign has been great. Well, I think there's some basic things that all photographers should know and should do. You start out with making sure that you understand the gear that you're using and know how it works. I mean, that's kind of like basic, but it really is important. And at least when you understand the equipment that you're using, you're able to produce a good image. And then once you kind of get to that point of knowing your gear, you need to really pay attention to the way that you're telling a story within just the visual frame itself. Pay attention to the aesthetics, pay attention to the light, pay attention to the composition. All these things are incredibly important in terms of making a photograph that somebody is going to remember and somebody is going to forget. Photography is about life, and life has many different aspects to it. Joy with sadness, laughter with crying, and so why not want to be able to photograph that and to be able to show the world my interpretations of these different aspects. I think it's, there's great joy in that. It can really bring a lot of pleasure to me as a photographer to show people other parts of the world and other parts of the way that people feel.